Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and yes, it's that video time. Everybody and their dog has been talking about Nintendo Switch Online ever since we got some new information last week in the Direct. And suffice to say, there wasn't actually that much to talk about, which, if anything, is the main worry. I'm going to look at both sides of the argument for most of these and try and give as balanced a look as possible. But suffice to say, at least from my own personal point of view, it leaves a lot to be desired. It's certainly not awful, I don't think, but oh, they could have done so much better, especially when it came down to the timing. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling, vague waffling at that. Let's dive right into things. Alright, so first of all, the very first thing that they announced would be happening with Nintendo Switch Online, the first of 5 major features, is going to be online play. Yes, you know that thing you've been doing for 18 months for free? Now you get to pay for it! When Nintendo announced the Switch, they did say that they were going to be doing a paid online service, and they were never, pulling any punches. They always said, yes, it's going to be free to begin with, but then it will become paid later down the line. And I believe the original time that it was supposed to be doing that was a year ago. I don't have an issue overall with paying for online. I think, there's a great deal of infrastructure and stuff like that needs to be maintained, even without dedicated servers, and don't worry, we'll get onto that in just a moment. But, things like, the development of netcode and the development of post-launch content. So all that Splatoon stuff, all the stuff in Splatoon 2, like all the updates, the new weapons, the new modes, they're all just delivered for free. But, Nintendo doesn't just, pluck it out of thin air. People have to work, they have to, make the stuff. And that costs money. Now, many people would argue, well, it should be incorporated in the cost of the original game. But it's not as straightforward as that, and also, if they have a budget for the amount of, content they're going to create for a game, then, you are limiting yourself. And really, with something like Splatoon 2, you really want to be able to support it for as long as possible, because it's one of those sort of evergreen games, and that is becoming a more common thing overall generally now. Things like Fortnite and stuff like that, and Paladins have the battle passes. You pay, essentially it's like a subscription so that you can continue to get all the extra stuff, but otherwise it's free. And I think it's similar to Splatoon 2 in that regard. So I don't know for certain that this is where some of the money is going, but I would be very surprised if some of our membership fees aren't going towards developing new content for existing games. I'm fine with that. I don't think paying for that is necessarily a bad thing. And it comes with other bits and bobs which we'll get onto later. And it's not terribly expensive. What is it, £18, $20 a year? It's not that bad, it's certainly cheaper than the other two. And if, the other two are anything to go by, then there may well be third-party sellers that will sell it at a discount. We'll just have to wait and see. But the big issue with this lies in the fact that when Nintendo announced it and they revealed it and they said that it was going to be happening later that year, everyone was like, oh, cool, 6 months for free. That's, that's fine. I'm sure there were some people who still complained, because there always will be. But overall, I think the general consensus was, oh, that's pretty cool, 6 months free, nice. But after 18 months of just playing online for free, in people's minds now, that is the standard, that is the base. We have that for free. Why would we want to pay for it? What comes with it better be bloody worth it, which we'll get onto later. It is entirely possible that we're going to get a better service overall. We don't know, Nintendo hasn't said anything officially, and it's not the sort of thing that they probably talk about in a Direct unless they did something very vague like, we're going to improve the standards, but that, if anything, would just seem like just sort of brushing it under the carpet and trying to make up for something a lot of people maybe would take it the wrong way. So maybe that's why they did it. Or maybe they're not changing anything at all, we don't know. I've seen a lot of people say that they should be using dedicated servers for all their games, and that's a point of contention, isn't it? The general consensus seems to be that dedicated servers when playing online is always a good thing and is always going to improve the experience, which is not the whole truth. Admittedly, I'm not an expert on the subject, but from what I understand, dedicated servers for games like Splatoon 2 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and stuff like that, especially Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because it's a racing game, would be a really good thing, would be really beneficial. Because that means that there's sort of a central server and everyone's connecting from their console to the server, and then the server's telling them what everyone else is doing and the server's doing all the hard work. But what we have at the moment is peer-to-peer, which is where one Switch console communicates with another Switch console and another one and another one and another one and another, and one of those Switch consoles, could be yours, could be somebody else's, is considered the host. And that is the one that deals with everything, and that is the one that decides what is going on. And basically it means you've got essentially zero latency if it happens to be your machine, which is obviously an advantage. So by having dedicated servers, you take away that advantage, and also, if somebody disconnects, then the server just goes bleh, and kicks them out, whilst if it's the host that disconnects, then everyone else gets kicked out. There are ways around that, of course, by having like a host shift, or whatever it's actually called. But that's another level of complexity. Splatoon probably would be improved with the use of dedicated servers. It is undeniable. However, most games, including most games on Xbox Live and PlayStation Network that, require these paid online services, don't have dedicated servers. It is generally, there are definitely some out there, but there are some on Switch that still have dedicated servers, like Fortnite and Paladins and stuff like that. Those are the only two games that spring to mind, apparently. So whilst I think it's very much a genuine criticism to say that these, certain games that would generally really benefit from having dedicated servers don't have them and we're paying for a service, I think that is a very fair complaint. However, I do, it's not the norm to do that, so it's difficult to be able to turn around and say, well, so-and-so does it, because generally the games that do have dedicated servers are not on the console manufacturer's side. They are generally third-party servers. For example, Fortnite will have its own servers, Paladins will have its own servers. It's not like Nintendo has servers to rent out or anything like that. But in fact, there are some games like ARMS generally, and admittedly not everything with ARMS, but if you're just doing a 1v1 on ARMS, actually peer-to-peer is better. The thing is that when you're using a dedicated server, it's the server that's making all the decisions and understanding and sort of building how the game is reacting and how your inputs are affecting the online game itself. However, when it's peer-to-peer, realistically, you're just sending inputs and, inputs and receiving inputs from the other console. So if you're adding a server, that's just another thing to slow down, another thing that has to read and understand before then going to your console or to the other person's console. And so actually peer-to-peer is better in that instance. I think I've been waffling about servers too much. Okay, so generally the online service is generally, it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. It's not brilliant, it's not any better, it's not any worse, which is arguably a bad thing in and of itself. But the service itself does not appear like it's going to change, or at least it's certainly not going to get any worse. I've seen some people complain that things like Nintendo's current situation is unstable, which I think is unfair. People have been saying, they have disconnects in Splatoon 2 all the time, which is weird because I never do, and I have a friend who I play with online, and she disconnects relatively frequently, which suggests it's her connection. And I imagine that actually a lot of these instances where there are communication errors, it's somebody's connection, in which case a server isn't going to help you. But anyway, moving on, let's talk about the Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online, the catchiest named little thing in the world. This is supposedly the sweetener of the service. This is what makes it seem like, oh, it's extra good value. You have to pay to play online, but hey, you get this. And it's not that interesting. I think the main issue comes from the fact that these games are from the NES, which is old. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with games on the NES. Some absolute classics are on there. Obviously, things like Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Bros., all that good stuff. But the thing is, anyone who has any interest in these NES games has played them already. In one way or another. On the original system, they've emulated it. They've played it on the NES Mini. Anything like that, they have already done it. They have had their fill. And, I'm sure there are some people that are like, well, actually, I'd really like to be able to play the original Super Mario Bros. On the go, in which case, super. But that really is going to be a very small fraction of that audience. And the other half of the people who are going to be getting this online stuff, I say half, could be anything, any fraction. Fractions, If they haven't played these NES games, that's probably because they don't have any interest in them, which means it's not that enticing a prospect. I think the main issue here is they've been selling it as Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online, more NES games than you can handle, you can play all the NES games that we release, and it's all part of the service. The issue is that it's so limited, and I think a lot of people, considering that they've said this is the replacement for Virtual Console, just wanted anything, any mention of other systems, and we didn't get it. Are we going to be getting SNES games? Are we going to be getting N64 games, GameCube games, any of these things? Are we going to be getting them? We don't know at the moment. I think it's fairly safe to say that we're going to be getting SNES games in the future, but even that's a bit of a hard sell. They're still very old games that generally have been around for so long that everyone who's interested has probably played them in some form or another. It's certainly an improvement over the NES stuff, but I think the issue is mainly stemming from the fact that we have had these time and time again, and we're just bored of them. We paid for them on the Wii, we paid for them on the Wii U, maybe with an upgrade for £1 or something, or however much it was. Now we're getting them for free, but the selection is infinitely more limited. It's just not a good. And don't even get me started on the NES controllers. A fun idea, they slide on the side. Oh, it's like a Joy-Con, but it's a NES controller. Ha ha ha. But it can only be used on Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online, so you can't use it on any other games, even if they have minimal inputs. Also, they're $60 and you have to buy 2 of them. I should clarify that's $60 for 2. Not $60 each, that would be even worse. There are myriad, in fact I've got some, hang on. There are myriad third-party alternatives out there that are not only cheaper but offer more functionality and basically just connect as a Pro controller and so can be used on any game. Yes, they can't charge on the side, using a rail like the Joy-Con, but you can charge them with any micro USB or USB-C. Generally, here, I've got an 8-bit Do controller here. Now, this is a SNES-style controller, obviously. Looks exactly the same as the North American one, because the old Palmer Violet buttons here. And it's got more buttons for a start. As I said, it connects as a Pro controller, so you can use it on any game. You are limited, of course, because you don't have all the inputs, but still. And then I've got this as well. This is actually a SNES Mini controller that has been modded using another 8-bit Do thing, because I've got a lot of that stuff. Basically the same thing, again, cheaper if you've got the controller lying around anyway, and it can be done with an official SNES controller as well. You can just, you can spend $20, convert it yourself. More functionality, more buttons, same sort of retro feel. Now, admittedly, I don't know how many people out there would take one of the NES controllers, buy them, and then think, I really want to play Breath of the Wild or something with this, Mario Kart, anything like that. I don't think there are many people who are going to want to do that, because it's not very ergonomic, very limited inputs, and all that gubbins. But just to have the option would be nice, what if you have this controller, you buy the controllers, you got Nintendo Switch Online, and then for some reason you don't want to buy Nintendo Switch Online anymore. That controller is now completely useless. In fact, 2 controllers you've got are completely useless, because you can't just buy 1! Right, bloody hell, let's move on. Save, data, cloud, gubbins thing. Overall, I think this is generally fine, to be honest. There are a few little issues here and there, but as a system, it just seems to sort of work. It updates it automatically, it does it for all your save data, doesn't seem to be any limit either, which is really good if you've got loads of save files in Skyrim or something like that and you don't want to lose any of them. But there is a bit of an issue in regards to if you cancel your subscription or you forget to renew it or anything like that, your save data is just wiped. At least on their cloud, on the cloud backup is wiped, not your save data. Ooh. It's a bit of a pain, but overall I don't see many situations where it would really be a problem. Maybe somebody forgets to, to buy Nintendo Switch Online and then a week later suddenly realize they don't have it anymore and they go, okay, I'll buy it again, and they continue. I've heard, heard people saying, well, what if you forget to renew it and then it gets stolen? In what? How long would it take for you to realize that you don't have Nintendo Switch Online anymore? I don't see it being that big of a problem. And of course, if you you intentionally stop, you've stopped using the service, and so your save data is sort of gone anyway in the cloud. I think it would have been nice to offer a grace period, maybe even just, you know, a month or so, maybe even just a couple of weeks, where your save data is stored after your subscription ends, and even though you can't update it, you can, in an emergency, pull it from there for that duration, you know, a couple of weeks, a month, even that would be good enough. I've seen people say things like PSN has a 6-month one, but you have to then pay for it again. Which, yeah, that seems like the same sort of thing, really. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think people are blowing it out of proportion because everybody loves to currently trample all over this Nintendo Switch Online service, myself included, but I'm willing to say that I generally think this isn't too much of a problem. What is a problem, though, is that some games don't support cloud saves, and that just, I mean, if it was just 1 or 2 games here or there, fine, but things like Splatoon 2... one of Nintendo's flagship games, doesn't support cloud saves because they want to prevent save scumming, which is where you, you know, sort of where you save your data, do some sort of random re-roll thing to try and get something good, and it's randomized, and then you don't get what you want, so you close down the system and you load your previous save, and you load it again and you roll again and you haven't sort of wasted anything. That's save scumming. At least one form of it. I get that, but there's such an easy solution to it. Just have it so that save data is always backed up on all systems, and anytime anybody wants to back up or download their save data from the internet using that cloud save shenanigan, they can't then download it again for 24 hours, 48 hours, something like that. Nobody's going to save scum over the course of days. It does mean that people can save scum once in a 24 or 48 hour period, which isn't a big deal. If people really want to edit their saves and they really want to try and get around systems like this, they will find a way. They will hack their Switch and they will try and do it, you know, through some finagling. They are not going to be put off by Nintendo not providing backups. They're not going to rely on the backups in order to save scum. Just do it so that once you download your save data, it can still be backed up, you know, repeatedly for, you know, for the next however long, you know, and constantly be backed up. But for 24 hours or 48 hours or something, you just can't download it again after that initial download. Problem solved. Oh, the smartphone app! My favorite thing, hot diggity. Okay, first the positives. I personally like the idea of having a sort of a smartphone app or smartphone connection of some regard in order to communicate via online chat. That made no sense. I like it because basically I generally play my Switch on my TV, and if I'm playing online with friends or something like that, I don't really want to have a big long cable trailing across or having the speakers turned off so I have to be wearing a headset or something like that. I just actually quite like the idea of just plugging some headphones into my phone and doing it that way. And if it's integrated with the Switch, and it can be done through the Switch and I don't have to faff around on the phone too much, all the better. I think that would actually be generally a really good idea. Unfortunately, the execution is complete and utter cowpat. I haven't used it in ages because I just don't want to. But when I first used it, the audio quality was absolutely appalling. You had to have your phone on the entire time if it went into lock screen. It just didn't work. And I think even if you just moved out of another app or you wanted to check something on your phone, disconnected from voice chat. They fixed that, but that was a big problem. And even then, I think it would be far better to have some sort of integral system, so a menu in the Switch UI, maybe by, you know, in the quick menu, by holding down the home button, where you can just say, and then here's the room, and you chat. But instead, you've got to be on a specific game, and you've got to be in a specific part of a specific game, and then the voice chat will work. It does look like they're becoming a little bit more lenient with Mario Tennis Aces, because you will be able to do it with anyone. You can just have the voice chat enabled when you're playing online, at least when the update goes live, and you will be able to chat to random people that you are playing with, if they have it enabled as well. That is a step in the right direction. It still needs a lot of work, though. Also, offer the app as an option. If people want to be able to just plug a headset in and be able to do it that way, let them. Let the Switch handle the voice chat and just send the data over the internet, over your own Wi-Fi, to your phone, and then have it come out the end there. That would be a much better, more elegant solution than having some sort of third, you know, this third leg attach, this sort of disconnect between the Switch and the phone. I'm sure it could be done. I'm sure it could be. So why isn't it? If Fortnite can do it, why can't Splatoon? And finally, everybody's favorite thingamabob, yes! Special offers! What are they? This service is coming out in a few days, and we still have no idea what one of the pillars, one of the 5 pillars that holds up this online service, just about, is supposed to be. I mean, we know that it's offers, but is it going to be like, Club Nintendo? We're going to be able to get physical stuff sent to us? Or is it just going to be, you know, like, you get 5% off a game when other people don't? What is it? The only things they've got listed on the website right now are the Nintendo Switch Entertainment System, the Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online controllers, which, you know how great I feel about them. Yeah, to actually buy them, you need a subscription, which is fine. I mean, I suppose it prevents people from buying them thinking that they'll work, and then realizing that they need a subscription in order to have the games that they work with. So why not just make them work with other games? And some exclusive Splatoon 2 gear. That's it. Who knows, maybe it'll turn out that actually the offers are really good and Nintendo really pulls it out of the bag, but given the confidence level generally with Nintendo Switch Online right now, I can't be optimistic. I just can't. So, overall, I would say the Nintendo Switch Online is generally a fairly lackluster offering, but it does the job, just about. It was poorly timed, they should have released it a year ago, and then I think there would have been a lot less backlash, and they should be better with their communication about it, rather than saying one of the great things you can do is the thing you've been doing for so long, online play, without actually upgrading anything or even alluding to any kind of upgrade to the service. Just saying, yep, online play, it's great, it's super duper. However, I do think that it is pretty damn cheap, to be honest. I mean, it's £18, $20, and that's if you buy the year, you know, or if you go with the family membership, it's even cheaper. It can get down to, I think, $4.38 a year. That's so cheap. Incidentally, we've done a little video talking about how you can get it super cheap as well for that sort of $4.38 a year. The link will be in the description. Not the card, because I keep forgetting to put them up. So I mean, if you did get this service for $5 a year, just, you know, rounding up a bit, I think it's generally fine, to be honest. Even at $20 a year, I don't think it's bad. I think it's fine. It's average. The issue is, this should have come out a year ago. If it had come out a year ago, I think generally everybody would be probably a bit sort of like, that's all. Oh, okay, well, it's fine, you know. But generally people seem to be, the issue is that they waited too long. People wanted more because the hardcore people that are really interested in getting all this good stuff from Nintendo Switch Online have been waiting a year and playing games online for free for 18 months. So they really needed something ultra special to make it worthwhile. Oh, and if anybody's wondering why Nintendo haven't released Netflix or Amazon Prime Video on their Nintendo Switch just yet, and, you know, Nintendo Switch Online, they still haven't done it. That's not how apps work. It's not Nintendo that makes them. But anyway, that is my rambly video, which had very little structure to say the least, all about Nintendo Switch Online, and it was a borderline rant, to be honest, but I do think overall, as I've said before, it is generally, it's fine. It's not brilliant, it's not terrible. It's fine. But of course, let me know how much you hate it in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you complain about that subscribe button, and be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.